Greetings to everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Girls Table. My name is Hlengwe Mtejo. Today we have a very different Girls Table because we are having our roundtable discussion at the tea room at the ZITF. We are going under the theme Beyond Equality, Harnessing the Power of Girls and Women for Sustainable Development. We have three phenomenal speakers that are going to be speaking on different topics from quality education, gender equality, and sustainable communities and societies. We hope that you're going to be inspired to harness your power for sustainable development.
Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon, ladies. Much better. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm so excited to see all of you here today. Today they gave me a very interesting topic as a STEM girl to speak about gender equality. It's something that I'm passionate about, advancing the rights and the advocating for girls and women from Matabeleland region. So let's kick off. When I was preparing my thoughts today about what I would say to a room full of women about gender equality, it was difficult because I said to myself, the journey of gender equality means different things to all of us. Why? Because our journeys are different. And I'll get to prove that to you in a minute. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'd like us to first just define a few terms so that we have a uniform term for some of the things we're going to discuss today. So when we speak of gender, what are we speaking about? The easiest is to go to the Cambridge Dictionary and find out what they say about gender. And it's defined as, and I quote, the condition of being either male or female. So for the purpose of this discussion, that's what we're going to use. Equality. According to the teachingspace.com, is defined as the state of quality, of being equal, correspondence in quantity, degree, value, rank, or ability. And equity, another word that we use a lot. It's being defined as the practice or the quality of being fair or impartial. And the reason why we're here today, sustainable development. According to the United Nations, it's defined as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So having said that, my reputation as a lover of science precedes me, but do believe I tell a very good story. And so today, I'm going to tell you a story based on gender equality. And please, let's put on our creative thinking caps and just try and see if you can pick out the most important points about gender equality that could have been applied in each setting. So I want to talk about two girls. Let's call them Spiwe and Spusiso. So Spiwe and Spusiso are friends. They're both 9 years old. They go to the same primary school in the same rural area, from the same rural village. After school, Spusiso goes home, does her homework with her mother, while Spiwe helps her mother look after her 5 siblings and helps out in the fields. When they're 12, their lives go in completely radical conditions. They go in completely different directions. Spiwe's mother dies during childbirth, giving birth to her 5th child. And after Spiwe's mother's death, the father quickly marries. One, mortality is the leading cause of death in low-income countries. Our story continues. Spiwe is forced to remarry a man 3 times her age, while Spusiso's journey continues to high school. Point number 2, girls with secondary school education are 3 times less likely to marry before the age of 18. Spiwe is now pregnant with her first child by the age of 13 because she didn't go to high school. And she contracts HIV from her abusive older partner and is ostracized by her community, and she can't escape it. Point number 3, women are 55% more likely to contract HIV if they have experienced intimate domestic partner violence. Spusiso, the other girl in our story, turns 16, has her first boyfriend. Her mother takes her to the community clinic, where she receives sex education and contraception. She pursues her university studies, becomes a medical doctor. Point number 4, access to adequate sexual reproductive health and hygiene for women increases mortality. By this time, our friend Siwe has 5 children like her mother and can barely afford to feed them or take them to school. Point number 5, women still do the lion's share of unpaid caring work, and this affects and impacts their ability to access decent paid work. Spusiso, who by now is a medical doctor, is able to decide for herself when to have her children, and over the course of the next 10 years, she has 3 children, is able to go back to work, touch the lives of those in her community positively, while caring for her family. Point number 6, women's involvement in public and political life is essential for eradicating poverty and gender inequality. Spiwe's life could have been like Spusiso's if she had the chance to decide for herself. Which brings us to point number 7, perhaps the most important point of all, and that is, harmful societal norms should be challenged by both men and women. We spoke earlier of a few terms that I said we would use for the purpose of this discussion for uniformity, and I deliberately left out the term gender equality. After taking you through the story, I would like to now attempt to define gender equality. It is defined as the state of equal ease and equal access to resources and opportunities, regardless of the strict binary of whether you are male or female. And this includes economic participation and decision-making, and the state of valuing different behaviors, aspirations, and needs equally. So where are we in Zimbabwe? What does gender equality mean to us as a nation? Under the National Gender Policy in the Constitution, Section 5.2, the government of Zimbabwe recognizes that gender equality is a prerequisite for the eradication of negative socio-economic factors. This will help the nation to attain a sustainable development. But despite all this, participation of women in decision-making positions, limited access to productive resources, and gender-based violence still plague women in our country. So what do we need? More robust laws, policies, frameworks that need to be implemented to ensure that the nation achieves the goal of gender equality and women empowerment. But you see, this is everybody's fight. Regardless of gender, our male counterparts have a pivotal role to play in the success of gender equality, because diversity of opinions between the sexes is equal to the diversity of solutions. So I am privileged to serve as the Executive Director of Girls in STEM Trust on a daily basis and touch the lives of many girls and women in our area. And the area which we are grossly underrepresented and underpaid is STEM. And this is the area of science and technology. So Girls in STEM Trust makes it its prerogative to empower as many young women and girls to be digitally literate, to venture into STEM-related occupations, STEM-related studies, and now into STEM-related businesses, because women can be business entrepreneurs. This is where the future generations of women, and you guessed it, men, should be. They need to be at the forefront of ensuring sustainable development and making sure that it's a global reality for all, and not just a far-fetched vision. So you decide. Spusiso's well-informed journey in life, or Spiwe's hindered environment with missed opportunities? The choice is ours, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicky, for that presentation. Before we go to our next speaker, we're going to speak or comment briefly on what Vicky was talking about. Now, as of 2018, women constitute about 52% of the population of Zimbabwe. But less than 15% occupy leadership positions in the country. Now, I don't know, this is a question that we're going to discuss briefly. How many of us grew up in homes with more boys than girls? Yeah. What is it about being a woman that makes us, she spoke about access to resources and opportunities, and how gender equality means equal access to those opportunities and resources. What about you being a girl hindered your access to the opportunities and resources that your brothers or your male counterparts had? We want to talk about from the most basic level. We're trying to understand what it is about women that hinders us from accessing the very opportunities that are availed to our male counterparts. Does anyone want to speak on that?
Hello everyone. I don't know, maybe I'll answer correctly, but let me just say, I remember when I was a young girl, I had failed my O-levels. I didn't do well. And coming from a family, I think we were about 7, I was the only girl with 6 boys. I was not even given a chance to continue with my schooling, but I was good enough. But with my brothers, even though they didn't make it, they were given chances to pursue on other issues and other things pertaining to schoolwork. But me as a girl, I was looked down and I was told, you must stay home, do work at home, don't do it. And even up to now, I always cry sometimes and say, but if I was given a chance to maybe go back to school, I know I was going to do something better. I was not given that chance because I was a woman.
Okay, so she's saying, in as much as but they had the opportunity to try again, but I wasn't given that same opportunity because I was a woman. Anybody else that want to speak on that topic?
Thank you. It's sad to hear that we still have people who think like that. And I don't know which year that was. But generally, I would like to say in Zimbabwe, from my own experience, honestly, ladies, we've been given here and there the opportunity. And Mangazana, let's not squander that opportunity. Yes, we still find that I'm not disputing that. But I'm saying we've achieved a lot, I feel. We've taken some big strides. But I think the ball is in our court now. The onus is with us. I've seen students, girls, squandering chances. Their parents, I'm in my 50s. Even before me, I'm blessed that my own parents valued education. Even my own grandmother, who had seen valued education so much that she sent a grandchild to school near Malia Matans. So we valued education. But I'm saying I've seen some people who are that lucky, squandering chances. I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I'm saying girls, ladies, let's not squander chances. Then we cry foul. Thank you.
Okay, Mama brings an interesting point, which I see a little bit. Because, for example, let's talk about politics. For those that don't know, I studied political science in college. And when I left, I had absolutely no intention of getting into politics or being a leader in the political space. Why is that? Some of the people that I was in class with, director one in all these political issues, but I never pursued that path. Whose fault is that? Did I not have an opportunity to do that? Did I not have access? But did I take that opportunity? So as we are interrogating the inhibitions that are pulling us back, we need to also interrogate what's in us as women that is hindering us from stepping up and saying, I want to do that. Now, I don't know whether between us there's a person that saw an opportunity, went for it, and failed to get it simply because she was a woman. And it went to a male counter. Do you have a testimony of somebody like that? Like, but because I'm a woman. Let's think about that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sakile Swell. Thank you, sis, because I was about to respond the first question to the second question now that you've asked. Mine is a bit different. I come from a family where we were 5 girls, and Ubabomnanwami had 6 boys. So the issue was, we were so blessed to have a father who can fend for us and want us to pursue whatever we wanted. I wanted to be in the military, intelligence military. And upon going to school, I learned in the 90s. We did Cambridge. Then when I told my father that I want to be in military intelligence, as a family would discuss. Then Ubaba was so angry about that because that not good at school. So that opportunity was there for me, my sister, but they deprived me. Then as years go by, I said, I want to be an independent woman. I don't want to get married, but I had a boyfriend. And also, that thing didn't go well with my Ubabomncane because it seems like Ubabomncane was the final say on certain things. So opportunities we do have, but I think it's all about choices that we want to take or make. So it was so sad, all the things that I wanted to do that were opposite to what a woman should be doing, I was not allowed to do. Then I was once told, Uti, usufuna ukufunda ungafunda usuthatha inotho yakho siwele usuyisa koNdebele ngoba vele wena njengomuntu ongumama kumele uyekwenda uyobukhweni. So what I ended up doing right now, I took a stance and said, I will do what I want. Achievement. Then I became an independent woman and I'm pursuing my dreams. So it's all about choices. Ladies, we've got choices that we can make that can build us, even though we come from broken and hurting families. Let your background be the one that drives your dream and your career to be a better person that you want to be.
Thank you so much for that. You speak about an imperative conversation, which is one on choice. Making a choice to not go with the norm. Because sometimes what we're afraid of is not whether we will make it, but the opinions of those around us. She spoke about leaving her husband. How many of us have made choices not because we want them, but because we're incorporating or trying to do what our husbands want us to do. We're going to continue with the conversation. At this particular point, let me call upon Unoma, who's going to speak about quality education. Ensuring inclusive, equitable quality education to promote lifelong learning opportunities. We grew up being told education is the key. Is it still the key? What door is this key opening? Ladies, let's put our hands together for Noma.
Good afternoon, all. She's posed a question that's very controversial, especially today in our current society. Let me divert from answering it for now. I think it would be a good question for us to discuss on. But from my background, I'm an engineer in practicing, and I also work at NUST as a lecturer of engineers. And the interesting thing is, over the years, there has been a constant number or ratio of female students to male students in the engineering field. You'll find in a class of 50 to 100, there's always 5 to 10 girls. So I remember once I thought that maybe this is a classic case, maybe there's something wrong with our country. Then by grace, if you would call it so, I've had the opportunity to travel again. You go to Europe, you find still the same statistics. Girls don't do sciences. Girls don't do engineering. So then that brings a question to me. We've often hid behind the fact that in Zimbabwe, we've hid behind the fact that the girl child is disadvantaged. The girl child is not given opportunity. The girl child has so many other responsibilities in the home that hinder her from attaining the goals that she's meant to attain. But why is it so, even in the first world countries? Why is there still such a huge gap, a huge pleading for women in science and technology? And then not so long ago, I discovered, wait a minute, it's not only in STEM. The chartered accountants are crying as well. They're saying there are no girls in accounting. There are no girls in challenging fields. I used to tell myself, maybe since they're not in engineering, I'm sure they're the building across us. Then I realized that no, you're even lost. They're not there. So where are the girls? And then interesting enough, as I was preparing for today, I came across a quote that says, if you educate a man, you educate an individual. Education contributes to his individual growth. It becomes his private property, as it were. But when you educate a woman, you educate the entire family. Which got me thinking, where does this come from? Statistics further show that in nations where child mortality and infant mortality are low, most of the women in those countries are educated. So there is a relationship between even the state or the well-being of our families in relation to education. But a lot of us are not, venturing into it. Then I dug even deeper. I was looking at the statistics, asking myself, but why? Why is it so? Where are we going wrong? The Dakar framework, the main goal, the main vision for it was education for all. Years after, they came back and they looked at statistics. This was in 2000. Then they discovered in 2014 that actually, if you're to look at the statistics in Zimbabwe, of the number of boys and girls that are learning and being educated, they're roughly 50-50 from the age of 3 to the age of 24. The ratios averagely are 50-50. But then the age group that has the highest dropout is between 17 and 18, which is also interesting. What happens when we turn 17 and 18? Where does the dropout begin? Do we begin to see and pursue other things in life that are becoming of more importance? Because internationally also, we've heard this when we were growing up. I'm not sure, maybe it was in my world alone. Zimbabwe has not been too far when it comes to literacy. We are considered one of the countries with the highest education system. But yet, where are the women in this equation? So, furthermore, I began to dig and ask myself, can we continue to hide and say one of the key causes of us failing to reach where we are supposed to reach is because of so and so, I didn't get this? Or is it a time when as women we need to change our focal point and begin to ask ourselves, how do I see myself in a particular field? Many times when I've spoken to young ladies, first question I ask is concerning mathematics. How many of us did mathematics at O level? We all did. How many of us, even before we reached O level and you're entering into the class, you're already told that mathematics is difficult? All of us. So when you enter into the class, you've been already defeated mentally. When you see a hurdle, you've already failed it, even before overcoming it. And which I think has been the main problem with many of us. I'm sure a lot of us here are engineers and even doctors, but you have never reached or attained that point because even before you knew it, you were defeated mentally before you even got into the field. Many of us even struggle to pass through O level, not because we're not capable, but because the defeat already came even from us as women before the world even told us. Or maybe the world has spoken so much that we've also begun to believe that we are not capable. Kofi Annan also said the same quote. He says, when women thrive, all of society benefits. When women thrive, meaning that economical issues, I realize that this is very true. They were looking at it in terms of English and maths. So you have a nation full of educated people, but a nation that fails to speak English and do maths. Those were the key subjects that the world was looking at. Not that I'm advocating for English to be a common or spoken language, but it was saying as a symbol of literacy, people can't read, people can't do simple calculations. And often at times as well, you go to a gathering of young women especially, and you request one individual to read, or perhaps you've never encountered it. In my background, you'd be shocked how many times you come across that, even at university level. People failing to read simple English. Then you wonder, did they buy their way into tertiary education? This is the creme de la creme of the nation. So where are we getting it wrong? So from a female point of view, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I think for long we have been looking at the outside world and how it's been affecting us. But now we need to begin to look at how we, as females, are hindering ourselves from attaining the goals. How we are even holding back our own education. How we are not even thriving or even aiming at goals that we can achieve because already we have been defeated mentally. So many things can be done to improve our education system in the society. For example, furthermore, just in conclusion, statistics says that Bulawayo province has got the lowest number of primary schools. I ended at primary schools because I figured if you've got such a low number of schools in primary level, then it means high school, secondary, high school, and university, you can't even go there. There's nothing to discuss there. So meaning that there's a problem here in Bulawayo, beyond Harare, Mashonaland, etc., that we need to address. We can speak of computers. If you look at our school system, we are so behind. Nations around us, Namibia is offering robotics as a course that their primary school children are learning. Many of us here don't even know robotics. We think of some of us even experienced our first coding session when we were at NAST first year. But now you're having a world around us that are doing programs at lower levels, at primary school levels. Our education is somewhere. So there's a lot that has to be done. But that change will only be effective once us as women take our role, our rightful role in the education system and influence the right doors to be able to make the change. The children are ours. We understand, even relationship-wise, we're said to be the best in relationships. We understand the needs of the community. We understand the needs of even our children from 3 to 24. So we become the better influencers. But we cannot influence when we ourselves do not know where we are going. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma, for that. I don't know whether you can hear me. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. While you guys are preparing your questions for Norma, do you encounter a lot of women in your field? No.
Make it short, no.
From your own experience, how did you find your love for math and engineering? Because I'm looking at a situation where nobody told me math was difficult. My mother didn't tell me that. My mother is an eye doctor, an ophthalmologist. I went to school, nobody told me math was difficult, but in my mind it was there. I don't know where I got it. I don't know whether you guys, like, did somebody say to you, math's inzima, and then you started questioning yourself? Or just somehow you're like, huh? Lapa, you know. So is it inherent, is it internal, or is it external, our fear and hesitation to play with math and science?
From my experience, you hear, it's there in the atmosphere. It might not be your mum, it might not be your dad directly, but it's a song sang everywhere. Maths is hard, science is hard. But when the girl receives it, it's like maths is hard, so I step away. Mm-hmm. When a boy receives it, it's like maths is hard, a challenge, then they venture. So I think it's a societal norm that you come across, which needs to be changed, if I can say.
Just to link gender equality and education, what are your thoughts on the government or society's attempts to propel women into the space of science and math by reducing the expectation of them to get there? We're clamoring for gender equality and 50-50, but you want to get into the same space with 12 points, and your fellow counterpart needs to get there with 15 points.
You know, the funny thing is I had an argument with a colleague on that this morning. And the male world is also saying now it's not fair. If you're talking about equality and equity, they also need to be treated fairly. So by reducing the number of points for the girl child, what you're doing at the end of the day is not fair for the male counterpart. But in the long run, you cannot run away from the fact that it did come a long way, and it has facilitated so many women to enter into tertiary education. Without that, it would not have happened. Because the truth is, even if we were to look at society today, the role of the girl child in the home is definitely different from the role of the boy child. Boys can get in. I've seen it in many homes. He can get in, throw off his shoes. Life is good. The next thing he's called to eat, life is good. You as the girl child, try to express such liberty. You'll be called all sorts of names. Ivila, Ini, Ichapa, all the names that are there in the book. But, so it's a controversial one, because at the same time, I do not believe so much that we need to lower ourselves to be able to attain what the guys are attaining. I think the potential we have we just have not realized it yet. Because when you look at the results also of students, at the end of the day, I myself as a case study, I remember when I graduated. When I was at school, I was not the kind of, when I was at university, it wasn't about being number one. Huh? I also discovered it on the day of graduation, that I had attained Vice Chancellor's Prize for best graduating student in faculty. When I left, just soon after graduation, the comments I got was, you're intelligent. But you don't look it. Move! So then you begin to ask yourself, is there something wrong? Did I miss something? But then it went to show that girls can obtain it. And I've seen so many brilliant female students who have done exceedingly better than their male counterparts. But when they enter, there's always that small thing in them that tells them they can't. I can't do it, I can't. Which has to be then pushed so that they realize that, no, you know what? I don't have to be strong or as tall as a guy to obtain what I have to obtain. I just have to be me, work in the comfort of who I am. Then I will obtain the heights that I have to reach.
All right. I spoke earlier about education being the key. Are we at a point where we need to rethink the nature of our education from the ground up, literally, because we live in a world, you spoke of robotics, artificial intelligence, the digital space has opened up so many opportunities that, if truth be told, some we're not even aware of. Are we at a point where we need to rethink the nature of our education and incorporate some elements that our traditional education has not been given to us? I mean, we're in the wake of the Industrial Revolution, the fourth, and was still, somebody spoke about drawing. What's that you draw in science class? A bombo, a locust, in 2020. So should we continue with the education system as is, or is this an opportunity to rethink the nature of education so as to open up more opportunities for the coming generations? Are there any questions from the floor?
I think that is so true. And if I could influence it, I would change the education system from primary school level up to high school. Because one thing I've noticed also, and this is the case that I'm seeing with most of our students, now we're getting students with good points. Our cutoff points are normally now 14, 15, because everyone is making it. But then now when you teach the student, you're asking yourself, do they know someone who helped them attain those points? But when we grew up, we had cutoff points, I think, were 13. Majority of the class was around 10, 11. But when we were in class, the substance and the quality of students at that time differed from what is there today. So we've always debated about it with colleagues, what has gone wrong. And I think to some extent, this problem, from my awkward assessment, is coming from below. I think now, especially, we're now targeting points more than quality. And even interacting with the students, a lot of them are confessing that now they're being taught to pass an exam. So teachers are focusing on what's going to come out rather than what is essential. Worse in the sciences, some students are even confessing that practicals, teachers do the practicals, give them answers, they copy, and they pass. So when a student works hard, they get 6 points. Then a student who's been assisted gets 15 points. And the interesting thing is, when you're now teaching them in class, the 6-pointer tends to perform much better because there's a work ethic that they have developed right from root level. But I think a lot of our education system has to be changed. And it will take some time, perhaps, because the teachers who are currently here, who are still teaching, are the same teachers who have been teaching for years back. So for the change to be effective, it means a new generation has to come in, even from those who teach the teachers, old generation. So you can't expect computers to be taught when the teachers themselves have never had experience to computers. Where do these computer teachers come from? You can't talk of robotics because the teacher doesn't even understand what a robot is. So the change, I think, is deeper and wider than just telling students there is robotics and computers, or buying computers. Like most schools now have computers. Huh? What are they used for? It's now more like a fashion statement. Huh? We have computers at school. But what are they used for? How are the children playing with them? Part of my education, there's a time when I had the privilege of experiencing some education out of the country and in the European setting, where you find that computers are at your liberty. Huh? You play, you do whatever. Here still, it's a privilege for a child to go onto a computer, which shouldn't be the case. Huh? It should be normal, their everyday life. They want to do research. They want to do, even at primary school level, they want to do research. There shouldn't be any problem, any stress. But back to the old system, where now the teacher themselves gives you homework, but the homework now has to be done by you because your child does not have, and you also we don't have the computers at home. Huh? So we also have to go to work, go to the internet cafe, look for someone. So I think there's a huge mind shift that has to occur in the nation. We can't start talking about the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence, when we're still struggling to just become more computer literate in the country. But there is hope and there is room for that improvement. I think so.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Chetu Moyo. I'm just interested on the fact that the ratio in Zimbabwe for girls and boys from ages 3 to 24 is 50-50, but we get to a point around ages 17 to 18 where we have girls dropping out, like more of girls than boys. And I'm just thinking, that is the peak of puberty. This is the age where young people are now becoming adults. So I'm thinking, does that mean that adulthood impacts on women better than on men? Because it's so common that even older women, as women grow older, as we go to those top positions, if you go to parliament, if you go higher there, you find that there is less women. But in this bottom leadership, like down there, you find more women than men. So
that's more need.
So, yeah. So does that mean that this thing is structural or it's environmental learning, to say that at a certain point, women, I don't know if I can say duties, responsibilities, they tend to draw them to a certain point where they can't pursue their dreams? Because what I've seen is most women that have followed their dreams, that have gotten to a point maybe where they've got 3 PhDs and they've studied in America for 6 to 7 years, there is something that they miss in society. Most of them fail to have maybe a proper family, and then they become the abomazakelas. And most of these women, they have managed to get to a certain point. So what I've seen is, I don't know, I'm not blaming anyone, but to a certain point, when women strive for something, there's something that they are going to miss. I don't know if it's structural, or are we still going to say there's something in women that intimidates them from being like who they want to be, or there's some structural, cultural issues that stop them? Because we know that it's common that if you reach 30, 40, you're still trying to pursue education. And it happens. I mean, what is that? Is it not something to worry about? Don't we have got their children, like even the was sister mama? Is it nothing to worry about? Thank you.
We'll get more questions and contributions before you can respond. I like that question. Like, what is it about turning 17, 18, 19 that then kicks out of the race? Is it structural? Is it biological? Is it societal? Is it cultural? And how do we counter that? Because, like she was saying, there'll be 30 class monitors and prefects in high school, but then there's only one CEO per 100 male CEOs. So I saw a few hands. Can we make our contributions as brief as possible?
Okay, hi everyone. Okay, so I feel like our main problem is on socialization. The problem is on the foundation, and we're only noticing it now when we're growing up and we're trying to now fit into society. As we're growing up as the girl child, we're told, I'm meant to clean. I'm basically being, from the time I'm born, from the time I'm crawling and all that, I'm being taught how to be a wife. That's what we are being taught, right? So when I'm being taught to be a wife, there's negligence on the fact that I can do more than just being a wife, right? So you realize that for me to be able to be more, I need to be rebellious in a way, right? This is where now we get to have Oma Zakir. Like she said, she had to choose between following society and following her dreams. This is a choice that we are being faced with, like, on a daily basis. And because of the way society looks at us, the way society grooms us, not only looking at mommy and daddy, but we're just looking at society as a whole, we're facing a situation whereby, as a girl child, our confidence is being killed, right? So if you come even you as a person of the same gender as me and you're telling me, I don't think you can do that, I'll be like, come on, I'll be able to do it. But then now I'm on my own, but what did she see for her to actually say that to me? I'm doubting myself. What am I doing next? I'm broken. I've decided to do what? Give up. So what are we doing as a result of this broken confidence and low self-esteem? We are now settling for the peanuts. We are settling for what they feel like we are able to do, right? So at the end of the day, you realize, I'm okay being just a general worker. I'm okay being a matangela. If I'm learned, I'm okay just being on the general work, as a general employee. I don't strive to be a manager. Why? Because I fear that I'm just going to start being told, laws are lo. These are the statements that we are facing day to day. It's just the same as this maths thing that you were talking about. It's not that our mom set us down and like, no. But it's because we are being told men think better than us. Men take on challenges. And as they grow up, realize the man's egos are being boosted. But what are they doing to us? They're breaking us down, right? So as I'm growing up, I'm already on my own. I know that I'm way less than him. He's a man, we can be the same age, but I'm way less than him. That's why when we're going into institutions, I have to go in with 12 points. For him to make it, he needs 15 points. Even the world is being lenient so that they can accommodate this bad thing that they're doing. And we as women, we are not even fighting, because if you realize, if she makes it up there, us women, we are not lenient enough to say, let me pull my girl, come and be with me. No. She's going to apply to be my assistant. What am I going to do? I'm born to and then what I'm not bringing up my girl yet. I'm meant to say, you know what? My girl is applying. You know what? We are not doing that at all. We are actually also stepping on each other, suppressing each other, such that even my next girl here, she cannot make it because I'm the very same person who's also bringing her down. So not only are we fighting men, we are fighting against each other. And because of that, we are going nowhere fast. So, yes, we can blame the economy, we can blame this and that, but I think our main problem is foundation, kindergarten there. That's where the problem is. Even if you realize when they are playing those kids in preschool, mama or daddy, we told her the child already, she's being submissive beyond control, and already that's damaging her, because that becomes a mentality at the end of the day. So I think maybe we, even as upcoming mothers, as upcoming businesswomen, we need to start adopting the mentality of bringing each other up, of trying to socialize better, of trying to bring our children better, because the mistake starts at home. And when the mistake starts at home, it grows all the way up. So don't expect a miracle when the child gets to 17 years, because like, I can't do it, so why bother myself? What do? I go look for boyfriends, I go look for sugar daddies. And what am I doing? I'm ruining my life, because already I've been brought up to be told there's nothing more for me beyond man. And when now I take it that way, I'm doing it the way you don't want me to do it, my dear mother. I'm going against what you want, but it's because you've already made it clear to me that all I have to do is be a wife. So when I start practicing it now, let me leave school and just do what you wanted me to do. So I'm already damaged. So I drop out, I don't put effort at school, and yeah. That's where our main problem is, according to me. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to